Before you go any further, understand this with absolute clarity. You are not here by accident. This moment was not triggered by chance curiosity or coincidence. Divine timing placed you here. Something beyond logic aligned your steps to this message because heaven marked this exact window of time as an appointment. Your spirit arrived before your mind caught up. That inner pull you felt, the pause, the curiosity, the sense that you needed to listen was not random. It was recognition. Heaven is speaking, and your spirit responded. What is unfolding now is not ordinary encouragement. It is an announcement. A supernatural reversal is already in motion. What was delayed is shifting. What was blocked is being lifted. What was drained is being restored. Elevation is approaching, not because you demanded it, but because you endured long enough for alignment to be complete. There's a transfer taking place of insight, of position, of provision, and it is reserved for those who are prepared in hidden places. What you are stepping into was not rushed. It was earned through obedience, refinement, and unseen battles. And make no mistake, the warfare you endured was evidence, not punishment. Resistance does not rise against what carries no future. Attacks intensify when something valuable is near release. Confusion, pressure, fatigue, and opposition were signals that something was forming beneath the surface. Darkness reacted because heaven was moving. You were not under attack because you were weak. You were opposed because you were becoming dangerous to systems built on limitation. This is why this message is not information. It is activation. Truth does not just inform, it awakens. As you listen, something aligns. Memory stirs. Authority repositions itself within you. This is not about learning something new. It is about remembering what was always true. So pause here. Take a breath. Let your body slow so your spirit can rise. Release distraction. Settle into alignment. You are being invited into revelation, not noise. Heaven is pulling back the veil on dynamics you were never meant to fight blindly. Understanding is replacing confusion. Light is exposing patterns. And once the veil lifts, nothing looks the same again. You're not here to be entertained. You're here to be activated. This moment was appointed, and what follows will confirm why your spirit answered the call. You have arrived at a threshold, whether you realized it consciously or not. There are moments in a chosen life when something internal clicks, when the soul reaches a point of expansion that can no longer be hidden, delayed, or ignored. This is one of those moments for you. You were drawn here because your spirit is crossing into a new dimension of awareness. And at that threshold, opposition often becomes louder right before clarity arrives. What once felt confusing now begins to make sense. This is where jealousy must be redefined. What you experienced was never a curse placed on your life. It was confirmation stamped on it. Jealousy does not rise in response to emptiness. It reacts to rarity. It forms when something uncommon enters a space that was built for the ordinary. You were marked long before people could explain why they felt unsettled around you. Long before words were exchanged, your presence spoke. Rooms shifted when you entered. Atmospheres tightened. Energy changed. People reacted to you before they ever knew you. And that reaction followed a familiar pattern, didn't it? Misunderstanding became a theme woven through your life. You were often misread, mislabeled, or quietly resisted, not because you did something wrong, but because others sensed something they couldn't interpret. They felt your calling without having the language to understand it. They recognized weight without knowing its source. And when people cannot name what they feel, they try to manage it. That is why containment became the strategy. Silencing, minimizing, keeping you small enough to feel safe, predictable, controllable. You were encouraged to dim, to soften, to shrink, not for your growth, but for their comfort. Yet even when you tried to adapt, the tension remained. Because what you carry cannot be negotiated. It cannot be downsized. It cannot be hidden indefinitely. What you mistook for rejection was actually exposure. What felt like isolation was identification. The jealousy you endured was not an attack on your character. It was recognition of your assignment. And now, standing at this threshold, you are being shown the truth. Opposition didn't appear because you lacked value. It appeared because you carried something rare, and rarity always reveals itself through resistance. There comes a moment of realization in every awakened life when the truth settles deeply into the spirit. You were never meant to be contained. Not by rooms that shrink when you enter, not by systems that rely on sameness to survive, not by people who feel threatened by what they cannot control. Your design was never about fitting in. It was about shifting atmospheres. The moment you step into a space fully aligned with who you are, something moves. What is false becomes uncomfortable. What is weak becomes exposed. What is insecure begins to tremble. This is why authenticity is so disruptive. You didn't have to announce yourself. You didn't need to prove anything. Simply being present activated reactions in others. And when authority begins to rise, even quietly, it sends a signal into the unseen. Jealousy does not form randomly. It organizes itself when influence starts increasing. What you witnessed was not coincidence. It was response. Groups form not because you attacked, but because your growth became undeniable. Insecure systems never confront power alone. They need numbers to feel safe, consensus to feel justified, and echo chambers to feel strong. Individually, insecurity knows it can't stand against someone grounded in truth. So it gathers, it whispers, it reinforces itself through shared resentment. What looks like unity is actually fear, searching for reinforcement. And here's the hidden truth most never recognize in plotting against you. They were unconsciously accelerating their own collapse. What they meant to use as sabotage became exposure. What they designed to restrain you became the very thing that revealed their fragility. You didn't dismantle them. Your alignment did. Your refusal to retaliate, or distort yourself caused their structures to crack from the inside. You were never meant to survive inside systems built on insecurity. You were designed to outgrow them. And the resistance you faced was not proof that you were wrong. It was proof that you were becoming too real, too aligned, and too powerful to be contained. As the story deepens, it becomes clear that the true source of their jealousy was never something you did. It was who you are. You did not provoke them with ambition, competition, or comparison. Your mere being was enough. The steadiness of your spirit, the clarity in your eyes, the calm authority in your presence unsettled something unresolved within them. You were not striving for attention, yet attention found you, and that is what revealed the conflict they had been avoiding within themselves. Your humility became a mirror they did not want to look into. While you moved without needing applause, it exposed how deeply they depended on validation. Your quiet confidence revealed the noise they used to distract themselves from their own insecurity. You didn't speak over anyone yet. Your silence carried more weight than their performance. And in that contrast, pride was exposed not through confrontation, but through comparison they created on their own. This is why heaven allowed jealousy to surface. Not to shame you, and not even to punish them, but to bring revelation. What was hidden had to come into the light, because your next season cannot be built on illusion. Support that was conditional had to be revealed. Smiles that carried competition had to crack. Applause that was secretly hoping for your failure could not walk with you into what is coming. As the pressure increased, masks began to slip. Those who once claimed alignment showed discomfort. Those who spoke encouragement revealed hesitation. And those who stood close began to distance themselves when your growth could no longer be denied. This was not betrayal. It was exposure. Heaven was separating truth from performance alignment, from convenience. Understand this clearly. Their jealousy did not define you. It clarified you. It confirmed that what you carry is real, rare, and uncontainable. And once the false support fell away, what remained was a clearer path, a lighter spirit, and a future no longer burdened by hidden resistance. What followed that exposure was not random loss, but divine separation and sacred pruning. What felt like relationships fading, doors closing, or sudden distance was not punishment, it was protection. Heaven was removing false alliances that could not survive where you are being taken. Some connections were never meant to follow you into your next season because they were built on proximity, not alignment. And alignment is the currency of elevation. This separation was necessary because authority cannot be carried in compromised environments. What you are stepping into, greater influence, expanded responsibility, and even financial transfer, requires clean hands and clear circles. Wealth without discernment attracts predators. Authority without purity attracts resistance. Heaven is too intentional to release increase into spaces where jealousy, competition, or hidden agendas still have access to you. So the pruning happened first. As painful as it was, this cutting away ensures that no one will be able to claim credit for what is coming. No one will be able to say they made you, positioned you, or pushed you forward. When the elevation becomes visible, it will be undeniable that it was God alone. The blessing will not be shared with those who secretly resented your growth. The reward will not be diluted by those who only stayed close to benefit from your light. And heaven sees the weight you carried during this process. The confusion, the grief, the quiet questions, the nights where you wondered why loyalty was met with distance. That pain is acknowledged. It mattered. It shaped you. But it did not disqualify you. It prepared you. What was removed was not meant to walk with you anyway. What remains is lighter, pure, and aligned. This is not a season of loss. It is a season of refinement, positioning, and protection, so that when the doors open, you step through unburdened, unchallenged, and unmistakably chosen. What came after separation was not abandonment, but isolation, designed for transformation. What felt like being cut off was actually being set apart. Rejection did not remove you from purpose. It redirected you deeper into it. Isolation became the womb where revelation could form without interference, where your voice could be refined without noise, and where your identity could mature without comparison. In the quiet, heaven spoke more clearly. Within this hidden space, you may have noticed the attacks intensifying, not because you were failing, but because your spiritual ranking was shifting. Pressure always reveals movement. Resistance increases when elevation is near. The opposition you faced was not random aggression, it was recognition. Something unseen had already changed, and the spiritual atmosphere responded before the physical world could catch up. Every attempt to shrink you, silence you, or make you doubt your worth only confirmed the expansion happening within. When others tried to define you smaller than you were becoming, it exposed their fear, not your limits. They sensed growth they could not control. And control is often the last weapon used when influence is slipping away. What makes this season undeniable is that your rising was witnessed by the very ones who doubted you. They may not have celebrated it, but they saw it. They watched your endurance. They observed your clarity increase. They noticed that what was meant to break you only sharpened you. Your consistency in isolation became evidence that you were being sustained by something greater than approval. This is how rejection turns into revelation. You no longer need validation because revelation has replaced it. You know who you are now, not because others affirmed it, but because heaven revealed it. Isolation did not weaken you. It strengthened your discernment, clarified your assignment, and anchored you in truth. You were never forgotten in this season. You were being formed. And what is formed in secret always emerges with authority. As transformation completes its inner work breakthrough, signals begin to surface quietly at first, then unmistakably. Elevation does not announce itself with noise. It reveals itself through reaction. One of the clearest signals is this: jealousy erupts before breakthrough manifests. Before doors open publicly, resistance flares privately. Before promotion appears in form, it appears in tension. People begin to act strangely. Conversations shift, and opposition intensifies, not because you changed your behavior, but because your spiritual position already did. What's striking is that others often sense your ascent before you consciously recognize it yourself. Heaven adjusts your frequency first, and the environment responds instinctively. People may comment that you feel different, that your presence carries weight, that your words land deeper than before. Even without evidence in hand, the atmosphere knows something is moving. This is how spiritual ascent works. It registers beyond logic. And here is the unshakable truth, anchoring this season. No one can steal what heaven placed. What is forged by God cannot be taken by jealousy, delayed by sabotage, or dismantled by misunderstanding. Human hands cannot remove divine assignments. Any attempt to interfere only exposes the limits of human control against heavenly authority. Your destiny was not assembled casually. It was forged in divine fire. The pressure you endured was not meant to destroy you, but to temper you. Fire removes impurity and strengthens what remains. That's why you're still standing clearer, calmer, more resolved. Survival itself has become testimony, and this is where your personal story reinforces your credibility. You are not speaking theory, you are living proof. Every scar carries wisdom. Every storm survived validates the calling. Your journey authorizes your voice, not because you announced elevation, but because you walked through what others could not. This is ascent in motion. You don't need to force it. You only need to stay aligned. What's rising now was decided long ago. As ascent continues, discernment sharpens, not as suspicion, but as clarity. This is the phase where protection arrives through exposure. Heaven does not always shield you by hiding you. Sometimes it shields you by revealing truth. Energy shifts become noticeable. Conversations feel different. Loyalties that once seemed solid begin to fracture. What looks like betrayal at first is later understood as removal. You didn't lose people, you outgrew alignments that could no longer travel with you. These shifts are not random. Heaven isolates with precision, not punishment. Isolation in this season is preparation especially for financial and spiritual transfer. What is coming carries weight, and weight requires clean hands and clear hearts around you. God will not pour increase into environments that cannot steward it. So, separation happens before expansion, not after. This is mercy disguised as loss. And here's the deeper truth. Jealous hearts are unable to steward what's coming. Envy corrodes responsibility. Insecurity mishandles authority. That's why certain people must exit before doors open. Not everyone who celebrated your potential is qualified to stand beside your fulfillment. Exposure protects both you and them. This is why pruning is a universal law in the lives of the chosen. Every level demands a release of what no longer matches. Vines are cut not because they are dead, but because they are alive and growing too fast for what once held them. Pruning does not reduce destiny, it concentrates it. So don't resist the exposure. Don't cling to what heaven is removing. What's being taken was never meant to touch what's arriving. Discernment is your shield now. Protection is active. And alignment is accelerating everything ahead. As protection settles and discernment matures, clarity arrives in an unexpected form. Jealousy becomes a marker of identification. Strength always attracts opposition. Light does not provoke darkness by effort, it reveals it by presence. In this season, jealousy is no longer confusing. It is clarifying. It identifies spiritual ranking. It highlights the level you are moving into, even before you fully step into it. Notice the pattern groups rarely gather to attack weakness. They mobilize against strength. What threatens insecure systems is not noise, but authority that doesn't ask permission. When resistance suddenly becomes coordinated, when narratives are formed about you without your involvement, understand this: your destiny has crossed a threshold. Your presence now challenges comfort zones simply by existing. This is why turbulence often rises alongside destiny. Expansion creates pressure. Growth exposes fault lines. As you ascend, the air gets thinner, and not everyone can breathe at that altitude. So opposition intensifies, not to stop you, but to reveal who cannot follow. This friction is diagnostic, not destructive. And here's the confirmation many need to hear. Attacks peak because breakthrough is near. Resistance flares brightest right before doors open. Jealousy grows loud when time grows short. What you are sensing is not danger, it is proximity. The environment reacts because heaven is about to act. Do not shrink in response. Do not lower your frequency to ease others' discomfort. Clarity has been given. You are seeing correctly now. What once hurt now informs. What once confused now confirms. Stand steady. The turbulence is temporary, but the breakthrough is permanent. As clarity deepens and opposition reaches its limit, a shift occurs that cannot be negotiated or delayed. Divine reversal and justice enter the scene. This is the moment where heaven openly fights for the chosen. What was whispered in secret is overturned in public. What was meant to slow you becomes the force that accelerates you. A spiritual reversal is declared not by your defense, but by divine order. Watch closely now, because the very plans formed against you begin to testify on your behalf. Attempts to undermine you expose the authority you carry. Accusations reveal insecurity. Resistance highlights assignment. What was designed to trap you instead becomes evidence of your calling. Heaven has a way of flipping the script so completely that opposition unwittingly participates in your elevation. And despite emotional wounds, despite betrayal, misunderstanding, and isolation, your identity remains untouched. You were bruised, not broken. Pressured, not erased. Your core stayed intact because it was never sustained by human approval. What God placed in you could not be removed by rejection. Many misinterpreted you not because you were unclear, but because you carried a mantle they could not perceive. Mantles disrupt expectations. They don't fit familiar categories. So people project confusion where there's authority. But misinterpretation is often the price of carrying something ahead of its time. Here's the final anchor in this phase. No human hand can stop divine order. Delays expire. Resistance dissolves. What was decreed before opposition, ever noticed, now moves forward with precision. Justice doesn't rush, but it never misses. And when it arrives, it restores more than was taken. As divine justice completes its work, elevation follows naturally, because restoration is never the end of heaven's process. Heaven restores and then multiplies. This is the phase of elevation transfer and compensation, where what was misunderstood is finally positioned, and what was withheld is released with increase. Destiny has always been misunderstood by the insecure. Those who live from fear cannot recognize greatness in formation. That's why true calling is rarely affirmed in real time. It is questioned, minimized, or ignored until results make denial impossible. But heaven never needed human recognition to validate what it planted in you. Approval was delayed, not denied. Here is the hidden key many overlook. Transfer is tied to endurance. What's coming now is not random reward. It is earned through consistency under pressure. You carried weight when no one clapped. You stayed aligned when exits were easier. That endurance qualified you to receive what others could not hold without breaking. This is also the season of divine compensation, not just replacement, but repayment. Time lost, opportunities, delayed resources drained. Heaven accounts for all of it. God is not merely restoring what was taken. He is multiplying it so that loss no longer defines your story. Scarcity will not be your reference point moving forward. And yes, this elevation will be witnessed publicly, not for ego, but for testimony. What was once doubted will be seen. What was hidden will be honored, not because you demanded recognition, but because divine order insists on visibility when timing is right. Remain grounded. Stay grateful. Elevation has arrived, and it carries weight. As elevation stabilizes, a new requirement emerges: discernment for the next season. Maturity is what qualifies you for more. Power without discernment invites loss, but power refined by wisdom creates longevity. What you've just walked through was not only deliverance, it was education. Exposure taught you what instruction alone never could. You are now learning with clarity and without guilt who can and cannot walk with you. This is not arrogance, it is stewardship. Not everyone who supported you in survival is equipped for your expansion. Some were assigned to a chapter, not the whole book. Discernment allows you to release without resentment and receive without suspicion. At this level, discernment becomes a weapon, not for attack, but for protection. You sense motives before words form. You recognize patterns before damage occurs. Silence becomes strategy. Distance becomes wisdom. This awareness is not fear-based. It is peace-based. You no longer need proof to trust what your spirit already knows. And here's one of the most important tests you're passing now: purity of heart. Bitterness would have disqualified you, but you refused it. You processed pain without letting it harden you. You kept compassion without surrendering boundaries. That balance is rare, and heaven entrusts much to those who can hold it. This is why authenticity becomes your currency in the next season. No performance, no masks, no over-explaining. Your presence speaks for you now. What is real will recognize what is real. What is false will fade quickly. You are not just moving forward, you are moving wisely. And wisdom ensures that what comes next lasts. As discernment anchors you, heaven shifts from revealing to constructing. This is divine construction, quiet, precise, and deep. Long before visibility was granted, depth was required. While others assumed you were breaking down, heaven was rebuilding you from the root system up. What looked like collapse was actually recalibration. What appeared like delay was structural reinforcement. Much of this work happened in silence. No announcements, no validation, just strengthening beneath the surface. Roots were driven deeper so that future winds could not uproot you. Shallow foundations collapse under pressure, but what is rooted in truth remains steady regardless of external conditions.
This is why isolation was necessary. It protected the construction site. Purity becomes the ultimate weapon in this phase. Not perfection, but alignment, clear motives, clean hands, an undivided heart. Power flows freely, where integrity is intact. Heaven entrusts authority only where corruption has no foothold. You were tested privately, so you could be trusted publicly. At the same time, financial and spiritual transfer has been quietly prepared. Resources move before recognition. Authority is a sign before it is seen. Heaven never releases increase without infrastructure. What's being given now is supported by capacity you didn't even realize you were building. And before ascent accelerates, heavy weights are removed. Old mindsets, lingering attachments, emotional baggage that would slow momentum. God removes weight not to limit you, but to lighten you for lift. Nothing unnecessary is allowed to travel upward. Understand this clearly. Depth always precedes visibility. Roots determine reach. And because heaven built you deeply, what's coming will not only rise, it will last. As divine construction completes its deepest work, the final preparation begins, not through striving, but through release. Freedom always precedes fullness.
What you are about to carry requires an unburdened spirit, and that is why forgiveness becomes the final act of alignment. Not forgiveness that excuses behavior, but forgiveness that untethers your soul from the past. You are no longer emotionally tied to what wounded you. You are free to move forward without dragging yesterday behind you. This release is decisive and clean release without re-entry. You do not revisit old rooms to explain yourself. You do not reopen doors heaven has closed. Closure does not require conversation. It requires clarity. What has ended has ended. Not in bitterness, but in peace. Old wounds are not permitted to enter the new season. They serve their purpose as teachers, not as companions. You honor the lesson without carrying the pain. The fire you passed through did not consume you, it refined you. Discernment was sharpened in that fire. You now recognize energy before engagement, intention before invitation, and alignment before agreement. This is what readiness looks like. Elevation without corruption. Authority without ego. Provision without compromise. Many rise, but few remain clean at the top. Heaven prepares you differently because your assignment demands longevity, not spectacle. You are no longer reactive. You are responsive. You no longer chase doors. You recognize timing. This calm confidence is proof of readiness. What is coming will not overwhelm you because you are not carrying what doesn't belong. Freedom has done its work, and now fullness can arrive without resistance. As everything you have heard converges, understand this clearly. This is not ordinary time. You are standing in a kairos moment. Kairos is divine timing intersecting human history. It is the moment heaven moves decisively, not gradually. What has been delayed snaps into alignment. What has been prepared quietly steps forward openly. This is that moment. You are not listening by chance. You are positioned by appointment. The transfer you've sensed is already in motion. Not someday, not eventually. Motion has begun in realms you cannot yet see, but you can feel it. Authority, clarity, favor, and provision are shifting hands. What once flowed away from you now finds its way back, with wisdom added and capacity increased. Heaven never transfers without purpose, and you are stepping into days that were scheduled long before resistance appeared. These are your appointed days. Days where confusion lifts quickly. Days where doors open without force. Days where alignment replaces striving. You are not chasing destiny anymore. You are meeting it. And as this happens, understand something important. The downfall of enemies is not your victory. It is confirmation. You do not celebrate collapse. You recognize order being restored. Justice clears the path, so focus remains pure. Now, receive the blessing of this moment: clarity in decisions, peace in movement, and open doors that no manipulation can close. Let calm replace urgency. Let trust replace explanation. You are allowed to move forward without proving anything to anyone. This is where response matters. Agreement activates alignment. If this message resonates in your spirit, don't let it pass silently. Comment to agree and activate. Declare alignment with what heaven is doing now. Stay connected. Subscribe to remain aligned with the prophetic flow that continues beyond this moment. And seal this truth in your spirit. Your story is shifting. Chapters are closing. New authority is forming. And heaven is not finished with you, not even close.